When people go online, they travel through various minds and ideas. They become intellectual travelers. So what if we stop treating every piece of content as a standalone asset and build an intellectual city instead? Where every short form and long form video isn't a post, it's a building people walk into and enter. And the way we design that space, depending on our taste and shaped by our point of view, quietly moves people higher and higher up the floors of conversion, from stranger to prospect to client. My name is June, and after helping clients scale their offers past multiple high six figures, I shut it all down to go on an impossible mission. Help people build a million intellectual cities with content architecture. And today, we start with our first project. I just want to let it known that this brand of yours is the shittiest brand. Two things happen. One, it limits the scalability of the offer that you're currently running. And two, it leaves people that you would have helped suffering from the things that they've been suffering from right now, which could have been solved if your visibility is already there, that they can see the value of your program and they can come to you and go to you and ask for help. So in this video, that's what we're gonna try to achieve and solve. But first, let's look at what we currently have. Because right now, Zach has an already existing brand. And unfortunately, it's loaded with wrong demographics that we don't want to target. And we want to try to make sure that his skills is seen by the right people who's gonna be mostly effectively affected by the offer that he's running. So Zach has one thing. He's helping busy professionals get driven on the skills that they're currently having and make sure that their fitness goals is aligned with their professional careers. Who's this person?
This is Arvin.
Arvin, when he went to you, what is his current situation and how were we able to help him?
Yeah, so his current situation was he was pretty much working out every day, dieting every day. I say dieting because he didn't really have a proper system in place.
Yeah.
So he went to me because he was saying, Zach, I'm working out all the time. I think I'm eating right, but I still look the same. Right? So he didn't really have that confidence. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if this could be on the video, but Arvin was actually depressed.
Oh yeah.
That was his major pain point. So he really wanted to dial in his fitness because he knew that if he can fix his fitness, it would affect him mentally. It would affect how he carries himself. And that's ultimately why he joined the program.
From the moment that Arvin joined the program, what was the current mechanism in order for us to help him go from depressed, someone that is not really on the state that they want to be in, to the point that he is now where he's currently at, 4 months in the program and is living his best life, working out when he can, and sticking to the diet he enjoys while being top performer in his job.
Yeah.
So what was the process of going through it? Oh, just give me a complete rundown idea of the structure.
Of the structure, yeah. So I always tell my clients that there are two pillars that they will be learning when they're inside the program. So first is personalization.
Yeah.
Personalization. So I make sure that all the workouts, nutrition, recovery is all tailor fit to their lifestyle.
Okay.
Right? Because the problem with a lot of clients is that they copy whatever workouts they see online.
Yes.
That doesn't work for them. Like what I do in the gym won't work for you. What you will do won't work for me. Right? And that's what we help them with. We make sure we find a tailor-fit program. And number two is sustainability. Right? We make sure that it's something that they can stick to not only for the next 3-6 months, but for the rest of their lives.
Okay. Yeah. Two things that I want to make sure that you're doing great. You're doing great with the program that you're running because you're trying to tailor in the program that you're running depending on the type of people that comes through that door. Although that has come with one backside, which it increases the fulfillment load with you and your team, right? Because every single person that comes is gonna have a specific tailored program for them, right? So how do we solve this? When there's a lot of volume, this is gonna be unmanageable at a certain point. But how do we solve this? We solve this by asking the right ICP and going full and specific on the ICP that we're going to target so that we can run a specific program for one person. right? So right now, Zach has a broad targeting. In his brand, there is a lot of moving pieces that is not really getting shown, especially when he's trying to build a personal brand for himself to truly connect with his buyers. For example, let's get to Zach's story. So Zach was an athlete, right? You were an athlete. So what does being an athlete tell me? You're disciplined, you're good at what you do, you were competitive, and also you can use this as, again, a marketing lever for us to actually attract the ICP that we want. And then we help them with their diet, and then
We give them a tailored workout program and diet plan.
okay. Zach is also a model. This comes at a point where he also manages a restaurant. So all these things that that Zach has different varying correlations to the people that we try to attract. Because on a deeper level, we try to attract the business professionals. And business professionals have different pain points, situations, and dream outcomes that they hold on to themselves. For example, they value so much about their performance in their profession, in their career. They also value longevity, and they also value productivity. So right now, how can we make sure that we show it in the marketing using different reels and assets and content architecture to actually make sure that the roadmap from being a prospect to being a client is smooth as possible, and it encourages them to think emotionally for themselves, so that they don't think of anyone else but you, because they've already connected with you on a deeper level, on an in-person level. And so far, it's not the case. So right now, let's actually dial in the brand identity heat map. So this is a graph that I draw, and I want you to look at it closely, because this thing is what's going to help you understand what needs to actually be done on a deeper level. Because right now, this is a drawing of your proof of skills, right? So this is your proof of skills. Right now, you have hundreds of clients that you've helped go from skinny fat to fit. And so you have clientele, you have case studies, you have operations, and you have expertise. But you have to understand that your proof of skills, it's inversely proportional to your brand. The reason why your brand is not growing just yet is because you have been focused on fulfilling for these people. And that's why you have an increase of proof of skills. You're an expert. You have knowledge. You have knowledge and information that you help them apply. But that came at a cost where your brand is pretty non-existent. Your content, your visibility, and your positioning is shit right now, right? It's shit right now. So what we want to actually be done is right now, on the point of scaling, we want to make sure that your fulfillment load is at an all-time low. Meaning, as a founder, as the CEO of the company, how can we make sure that we provide you leverage and, importantly, scalability in order for you to have that brand relative to your growth capacity? So if we try to reverse this heat map, you see this, right? This is the heat map. We want to reverse engineer this and flip this to the switch where your brand is here. You have a high brand and a high scalability where you have little fulfillment load for you as a founder, not as a team. Your team still fulfills. Your CSM, your team members, your sellers, your closer, they still do their job greatly. But you as a founder, you need to be able to have that space, that thinking capacity, and making sure that you only do the highest leverage tasks as a founder. And then the proof of skills will come at an expense of the brand, right? Because right now, who you are is not really showing up. We want to find that founder identity. That founder identity is only going to show up if you actually have that mental space for you to think, right? So right now we're going to work on this. We're going to go on our character outliers, and I've already showed them all these things. You have character outliers, you as a person, you as Zach, but we need to connect it with your client's best performers. What do they have for traits? And what do you have as a founder that we connect together and merge them as a marriage of two intellectual bodies that we can use to attract other clients? So what we want is just marry ideas of the clients and you as one, so that we can produce more and more clients. One, the character outliers that you have is that you have access. And basically what this is that, where do you live, bro? You're in a tropical country, beautiful paradise, beaches, coconut trees, and tropic. You're essentially living in paradise. But so far, I haven't seen in your content as much. I know you posted like content of you and pictures of you in beaches, but like it's not heavily framed, because this is what you have to understand when you post content, bro. It's gonna viewed as is, as how you posted it. But you can use and edit some things there to make it seem like you're moving towards a goal. For example, you could just post a random picture of you on the beach. But what if you can add text on it on your stories, so you can post the stories of your clients that actually has access to beaches as well. So the people who are doing their 9 to 5s or doing their professional careers can be attracted to it, because if you're a 9 to 5er, you would be loved. You would be in love with the idea of going to the beach, vacation, and 4-hour work weeks. So you have access. You're also busy in a good way, because Zach right now, like I said to you, is that he's managing a restaurant franchise. He also has a fitness education business, and he also does a full-time modeling career. So he's juggling all these things all at once. What I want you to understand is, in our space, in info, it's very normal for you to have different things juggling all together, and for you to be the top 1% of man in your current industry. But for other people, especially in this niche, where it's busy professionals, it's a foreign thing for them, because they're only focusing on one single goal on their career, which is progress, be promoted, have a great legacy on them. And legacy is going to be a great thing that we're going to talk about more and more. They also want to have a lasting legacy that their people, their family, and their friends can look up to, right? And then another thing is, you're an athlete. Zach is an athlete, and being an athlete, again, like I said, is you also care a lot about yourself. Self-care is a normal word for all of us. You take care of how you look. You take care of who you are as a person, and you take care of how you come out. Of course, it comes up with your business. It's the name of the game. How you look depends on how people perceive you. But for people doing a career who's solely focused on it, they're sometimes getting driven on being just solely focused on their desk every single day, 16-hour days, just being on this square room and being on a spreadsheet. And so far, that is a nightmare for other people. But for other people, it's their reality. And self-care is what Zach has. Another thing is that Zach is family-oriented. Family is one thing that Zach prioritizes, because in order for you to value people, you have to value yourself. You have to take care of yourself. Self-care. So that, imagine saying to people that, yeah, you're focused on this job and this career and this platform that you've been with for the last 15 years, but are you actually taking care of yourself in order for you to value other people? High rocks is also another thing, but it's basically the same thing as being an athlete. Another value of being a high rock athlete is you're pushing for challenges and you're breaking the limitations of your body, right? The reason why we're discussing all of this and we're going in depth on this is because in my experience of working with people on 20 plus different niches in adjacent markets, we have seen that having these values and character outliers produce massive results in little efforts and efficiencies as possible. Because, for example, I have one client before. He was also like teaching people how to productize their knowledge, right? And we have found out that the reason why he was having all these clients and the reason why he's acquiring all of these clients is because some of his clients resonate with him being an MMA fighter, right? So right now you're thinking, what does being an MMA fighter or someone doing mixed martial arts do or affect on teaching people stuff? Because one, being an MMA fighter requires you to have insane discipline and a destructive force that is controlled. So when people think of that, they won't necessarily think of you as a fighter. They will think of you as, when you do things this way, you also do things this way. You are disciplined. So if I hire you as my coach, you're also disciplined with yourself and the expectation. And you have a destructive force that you apply for yourself, but is controlled, meaning you push for more but you stay consistent and controlled and level-headed with everything that you do, right? So that little detail can do massive outcomes when implemented right in the marketing and on the front end. Now, I asked you this to fill up some best performance of your clients, so we need to answer it right now on the spot. What has been the best traits of the best performing clients that we have, right? So you said they value consistency.
They value consistency.
They value systems, bro. Systems and being
systems is a big thing.
Yes, systems and organization. And the one thing that we talked about is like productivity. Does performance ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, performance definitely is. So just by these things, we could connect this, right? For example, in performance, we could connect it to Hyrox, right? Productivity, we could do it in the self-care part, right? In systems and organizations, we could even like connect this to being an athlete. How can we say that in the marketing and in the specific marketing assets, on content assets? We're gonna figure it out later. We're gonna write everything down, right? And consistency, as well as like being busy, and then accessibility and beaches is something that we can just go over and make sure that it's getting shown as a subconscious part of his marketing. Now let's go over some offer mechanism that we could leverage upon, but most specifically is the specific objections that someone typically has, especially when they're on a fitness offer. But before we go over that, from what we've studied on, the prospects that we have are having inconsistent workouts. They're overworked with their career, and they're most likely, and then we have low energy. Weight gain is part. Even though they're just sometimes more of a bit skinny fat, weight gain is still there because it's pretty noticeable when you're in this depressing environment. And then they have poor eating habits, and then no scalability. Like they can never do anything anymore because they think that their 16-hour workday is compressed with just doing their jobs, and they have left no time with fitness so they can control themselves or they can take care of themselves. So how do we go over from point A, which is the things that I've just said, to being point B, which is having leaner physique, more energy, and better confidence, and then having sustainable habits on it, and then stronger body, and then health-work balance. So number one, what is the biggest constraint of closing a fitness client? And that is, I don't have time. So I don't have time is the biggest, one of the biggest, I would say. In your experience, is it true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there.
It's up there. Because what is the biggest? The biggest is?
Well, the biggest would be they're not sure if they can commit to it.
Yes. Commitment to it is also coming from the time perspective, because the reason why they can't commit is because I don't have time, right?
Yeah.
So how can we make sure that in our marketing, we implement the characteristics that we just discussed? You run 4 businesses at once, but you still find time on having your fitness dial, right? So that's one. And then people will say that they travel too much based on in their work. But like, you still keep yourself active. My work schedule changes. Some people doing in their professional careers, their schedule changes. But for Zach, he does modeling and he's running 3 companies all at once. And then I can stick to diets. What I wrote here is that I don't have to. You don't have to. Because in your program, do they actually have to stick to one diet only? Like only one diet?
No.
Yeah,
it's flexible.
It's flexible, right? So they don't have to actually stick on one diet because some body types requires different ones and some schedules requires different ones. How do we optimize for that? Again, we do it in the marketing so that we can show them that these objections can be handled pretty easily, and all the things that they have is just limiting beliefs in their minds. And then I lose motivation. So a lot of people have limiting beliefs that their fitness comes from the mind. Although it's true, it's always come to an extent of how we frame things. For example, we're doing like productivity, performance, and longevity. Athletes don't win every time. Based on your story, you don't win baseball games every single fucking time. Because motivation is just there, but what we value most is the systems that you give them, the organizations, and the standards of protocols that you get to every single client catered and tailored towards their specific experiences. So athletes don't win every time. You could tell a story of how you lost or win and a competition that you represented for your country towards other country, and then you could have a personal anecdotes. Before going on and making sure that Zach's offer is clear, we have to make sure that we have full clarity on the landscape of the fitness industry, because Zach here is selling a fitness coaching offer for basic professionals, and fitness market is unfortunately overcrowded with people selling the same shit all at once. We're trying to make a differentiation for him so that he's not viewed the same as the thousands of people doing the same exact thing. So the fitness market right now is at stage 4, right? People are fighting for the same thing, no differentiation. So how can we weaponize your own stories? We went over to your outliers, and how can we optimize your claims as someone and not treat it as a guarantee? Because if you're guaranteeing someone something, that means you're needy and you're trying to prove themselves. How do we make sure that your offer is specific, but at the same time complex? It's specific to one avatar of client, but it's still complex, that you're differentiated and you're not viewed as the same person that teaches the same exact skill. And that all of that would give you the differentiation that we're trying to strive for. Right now, we've honed into one specific ICP. Right now, we've limited ourselves to a mid-sized TAM. The total addressable market for skinny fat professionals who are busy and depressed, or other pain points that they have. I don't want to call them depressed, because sometimes they're not. They're just sometimes lost on their journey and they have no clarity on what they have. So it's a mid-sized TAM. There's not a lot of people, but there's money to be made, which is there's high LTV, right? And when there's high LTV, there's a bunch of money-making opportunities. Now, we also have a high urgency. Because the ICP is a little bit older than most people, we're not targeting high school, college guys, just someone just graduated bachelors. We're targeting people who are already on their careers, sometimes on the tail end of their professions, and we're trying to help them. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a mid-sized TAM, which means there's a few of them, but the urgency is high because they're much more older and they care more about their health and their family. Now, how do we make sure that that is specifically designed to tailor or communicate it in the marketing? We have to make sure that we have a flagship statement, a statement that we can always go back to in your marketing and even in your fulfillment and in your offer, that we can reference to make sure that everything is aligned. And this one is still not final. I've wrote it for myself, but Zach always has a will to actually make sure that this is dialed, because offers are not final. They get upgraded, they get eliminated some parts and improved over and over and over again until you come to that golden point. So right now, we have this statement. Most high-performing founders and professionals trying to get in shape make the same mistake, right? They hire a coach who's never run a business. So you're a coach, but you're running 3 businesses all at once. So that's a unique marketing angle, because some people try to teach fitness, but they don't really have a real-world experience. And because you're targeting a specific ICP, which is business professionals, you can connect to them because you have the same pain points that they already have. But you've managed to penetrate that and go over those obstacles. Mm-hmm. Now, the program assumes flexible schedules, predictable meals, and willpower as variable. That's what everyone do. But none of that survives in the situation of someone working and building towards their legacy. Their legacy is one of the most important part for people who have dialed in themselves and devoted themselves to one single profession. Even if it's like building towards their legacy or staying longer to make sure that they stay with their family longer, we have to make sure that everything is noted down to the dial. We're very specific. So what happens? They muscle through for 6 weeks, hit a very busy week, travel or a family emergency, they miss 4 sessions, they spiral, and they restart 3 months later. That's what happens in every single fitness program, which only considers one type of ICP that doesn't relate to the founder. And what is different with Zach? He relates to his ICP so much. They've been on that loop for that 5 to 10 years. They've been older in the fitness market and they've tried a lot, but 5 to 10 years have passed and it's still the same situation. The body keeps regressing. Remember that other thing that I've told you in the very beginning? Our ICP is much older. There's a high urgency, meaning if they don't solve this problem as fast, their body would just keep regressing and regressing and regressing to the point that they were gonna rot in their bed, right? And I know it's exaggerated, but it's the truth, right? Either you fix it now or you'll die with that exact same situation that you are right now. So we do the opposite. We built a system designed by an operator who runs 3 businesses simultaneously. Now, Zach's character outliers is now surfacing on the marketing just because on this mechanism built. A fitness education business, a restaurant franchise, and an active modeling career while staying lean through all of it. Now, his characteristic doesn't just come as a personality trait. It's now a marketing lever and it's now a positioning asset that the people would think of and they will say, okay, Zach been there, done that. That means I can trust him. So it adds another layer of authority. And then that's why we called it busy but built protocol, because the system runs with you and for your lifestyle that strives for your excellence. It focuses on not just improving your aesthetics, but helps you perform better and longer in your life and in your career. So in this specific mechanism build, we're still flirting on the fact of this naming mechanism, but we're completely there because right now, Zach and I is going to go through this process with creating a spin carousel and creating a start here story sequence in order for this to be clear as day. Now, based on that, all these mechanisms, all these character outliers, how do we make sure that it actually surfaces in our marketing? First is we go through over content pillars. What are the things that we always go back to in order for us to make things appear as though it's part of our offer? But how can we make sure that just being aesthetically pleasing will not hurt Zach's brand that is building? Because again, we're gonna go back to his ICP, which is busy professionals. Busy professionals don't care as much as that raw meat muscle that everyone tries to flex. What they really care about is if those muscles translate to being a suit-ready body. How can they feel when they put on that vest and put on that suit and go over and speak to 100 people on their professional gathering? Aesthetics, in a philosophical sense, is also a form of self-respect. Because if you have that audacity and that authority and even responsibility for yourself to make sure that you take care of your body, you have a self-respect in your inner world. How do you view yourself? For example, you yourself, how do you actually make sure that you respect the body that God gave you or the universe gave you? You mold it at its best, at its peak. Now, it's a form of achievement. The second content pillar that we want to make sure that we go back is the performance. And performance, and I would go over again with this, is longevity. Because performance and longevity comes with another pillar that we're experimenting with, which is productivity, based again on his ICP. So performance, how does having a good system, organization, and implementation on their fitness affect their decision making, their focus, their stress tolerance, their mental endurance, and their drive and composure, building towards something, striving towards their legacy? Drive and composure is very important. And then it also go back to that productivity, which is making sure that they do all things all at once, but they still are productive and efficient, right? Because these people, they don't really care about staying less or doing more. What they care about is how can I do a little bit of something that would yield to a maximum amount of volume, right? Now, longevity, strength at 50 plus. People are older. They care more about having that good future. You imagine you imagine going to someone and you're gonna say to him did you have already insurance? Insurance is super weird because they expect you to die. But for some people, it's already they're comfortable of it already. Strength at 50 plus means the longevity that you've had in your early years is gonna compress back into these later years of your life. And it comes with another thing, which is recovery. How fast your body recovers. Your muscle mass and your visceral fat your bone density, and like we talked about earlier, which is marginal decade. Those are the later decades of your life, and also your insulin sensitivity. And then the last pillar is purpose. Lots of professional career guys and even founders, purpose is what really drives us. At a certain career point, at a certain monetary gain, it doesn't really go over the purpose of what actually makes us who we are, which is our identity, our standards, and our self-mastery. And lots of these people on their self-mastery, they've studied like bachelor's degree, and then they went to their master's degree, and then they went to doctorate. They have this sovereignty and again, that legacy. These are the 4 things added with productivity that we want to make sure is things that we can make an SOP of, so that the editors, even the script writers, can just go over here and make sure that they always go back to these topics. First of all, do you agree with all these topics?
Yeah, I do, 100%.
Do you think we should add or remove something aside from the productivity part? I think this is great already, right?
I think this is good, yeah.
Right. So right now, content pillar is different from content categories, because pillars are things on one video all at once that is factors of how someone views a reel or a content asset. But in content categories, what percentage of the volume that we put out is first educational. So we want in a 30-day period, on a monthly basis, depending on how many volume of our reels or content assets that we put out, we want to make sure that everything here is like 30%. Business professionals, they want to get educated, just like what I said to you earlier. They want to make sure that they always come out on top as taking a knowledge from someone, strengthen their knowledge, make them feel smarter. So 25% is just connection. All the things that we talked about has to come up on your content assets and your marketing and your front end. Still feels like you have authority, but people treat you as someone that they've been with. They should feel like you've already been a friend with them for 10 years. And that's the value of volume. And then we're keeping authority at 15% because, again, the ICP is a bit more older, and they've already been educated for all their life, because we try to relate to them as much as teaching them so much. And then we want to give them the results. Show the things that we've been there, done that to other clients. For example, Mark. For example, Bruce. For example, Ken. Right? We want to make sure that we leverage these stories a lot more and more, right? And then that's it for our content pillars and content categories. And for our content formats, we've already discussed this. Efficiency over everything is the most important thing when you're trying to scale as a founder, when you already have a base of a vehicle that you're driving already. So we want to make sure that in every group call that he has every single week, we want to turn it into a YouTube long form and an Instagram short form. So now you're doing 3 things all at once. It's like 3 birds in one stone, like 2 birds in one stone, 3 birds in one stone. You provide them with fulfillment, which means that you're still involved in the day-to-day process, kinda, but still you're doing this for a long-form YouTube video. A YouTube video lasts for 19 days before it drops, and then it's still forever in your YouTube channel. And then in the Instagram short forms, we could just create an SOP for your editors and in your content team for them to clip up so that you have maximum efficiency, that you do things 1 hour per week, and that's the entirety of the content, right? That's the first stage. Another format that we could do is a podcast. One thing that I always say to my clients and to the people that I talk about is when you're on a podcast, you are always seen as someone automatically as an authority figure, because in order for you to hop on a podcast, you have to be someone who has done something special. If you have done something special, you have stories to tell people, and people would come to that podcast and watch the series and episode that you've been with. So in this podcast, again, efficiency over everything, we can turn this into a YouTube long form, a clip short form, and these are just authority assets that we could leverage even in our stories. The next thing is a day in a life. Because Zach is doing so much on a day-to-day basis, running 3 businesses all at once, being a model, running a restaurant franchise, and having an education business, people need to see a sneak peek of that life. And how can we do that in a friendly manner that we can still teach them while being a friend to them? And that's a day in a life. and we're gonna structure this all at once. Like we're gonna do all the scripting here, and then yeah, it's just a sneak peek to the life of a practitioner. This is the positioning that I want you to take every single day, because you implement the things that you teach. You are on the ground implementing everything. You're a practitioner. You've been through this situation. That's why you can teach it to other people. You have efficiency and you have authority. It speaks to their situation, right? And dialing in all that ICP problems and the character outliers and the best performers allows Zach to structure this day in the life much more effectively. And then the last thing is, of course, we want his ICP to imagine themselves being with Zach on a role play of someone who's already his client, that ultimately needs to be the exact makeup and avatar of his client. Depending on who we attract, we need to be able to make them see how you fit with them, right? How you treat them in person. Just like with two of us, right? Zach and I have been spent 1 or 2 hours maximum with each other. And then in person, we've spent 5 hours already. And we've known each other for we've talked about 1,000 things, life, business, whatever. And we're planning to spend more time. Meaning, the level of trust is there. We're basically friends right now, right? He even said he's gonna invite me to his wedding 6 years from now. 6 years from now. But I do believe it, because we're building everything long term, right? Because if you're info and you're just thinking of this as a 3-year play, you're never gonna get past that first year, because you're thinking of this short term. I just want Zach to understand the content architecture that's worked time and time again, proven in 20 plus different niches in adjacent industries in the specific info market that he's trying to penetrate. And this comes with 5 layers of limitations and relationships. For example, right now, when people go through every single page on Instagram or in YouTube, they're just curious. They're just curious there. And in this point of curiosity, after this step, we want to make sure that they understand the foundation of our brand. In this peak of curiosity, in this tiny window of opportunity that we can show ourselves, we want to make sure that the foundation is already there. Meaning, we can show them that we value aesthetics first, but we also value productivity, performance, longevity, and purpose. By that, we can change their beliefs and their identity, and we gain their trust. Meaning, if we could gain their trust from the specific assets, we create demand, and that demand gets translated into conversion, which will allow us to give and get that scalability that we want, which is hopefully the thing that we all get into. The next part of this video is going to be me and Zach just honing onto his start here story, his offer, and then his pin carousel. So yeah, we're going to go back into it just a second. Yeah, let's go get your Mac, and then I'm going to get my iPad, and then let's fucking finish your start here story and pin carousel right now.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
I love it, bro.
I love it, bro. Fuck, bro. I'm in flow state, bro. Insane. That's insane. That's what I love about just being me, bro. Like, just being me.